ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯರ್ ಅವನ ಒಪ್ಪಿಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಮ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಬಲ್ ಓವರ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಸೊ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಏನಾದ್ರು ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್? Okay. Next, Ashraf is an employee in Moon Public School. His daughter Zara is studying in the school of concessional fees is 600 per month. So that means ಅವರು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಅವ್ರ ಮಗಳು ಆಸ್ಟ್ರಫ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅವ್ರ ಮಗಳು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ಫೀಸ್ ಬಂದು 4,000. ಅವ್ರ ಕನ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಕನ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಫೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ 600 ಕನ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಬಲ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಶ್ರಫ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾವ್ದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕನ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ಫೀಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಾವು ಆ ಕನ್ಸೆಷನ್ ನ ಮೈನಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ಫೀಸ್ ನ ಹೊರಗೆ ತೆಗಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ 4,000 minus 600 into 12 ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 ವರ್ಷ ಅವ್ರು ಓದ್ತಾರ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ into 12. ಸೊ 4,000 minus 600 you get around 3,400. So into 12 you will get 40,600 and that is been taxable over here. It's very simple problems, you get it. So no need of worrying about that so much. And the next question, Ashok interest-free loan 15,000 from B Limited. The employer, assuming the market rate of interest similar to the loan is 10%. The taxable value of perk resides in the hands of Ashok. And one more thing you have to remember, ಯಾವ್ದೇ ಲೋನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾರೇ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 20,000 ತನಕ ಎಕ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ನೋ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಬಲ್. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು 20,000ಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದ್ 200 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಆ 200 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಮೇಲೂ ಯಾವ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸು ಇರಲ್ಲ. 20,000 ಜೊತೆ ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದೇ ರೀತಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಬಲ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ? ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್? Okay, Shashank, Saujanya, Suraj. Okay, hope you guys have understood. I think remaining problems kuda ide tara ide. I'll be sending you all these problems. So once the workout madi, I have solved around 10. The remaining problems I'll be sending you by today night. So go through all these problems once. Okay, na? So now I'll just stop your share. Now I'll go with your house property. So I'll just share my whiteboard. You can have your books and you can take down the notes along with me because I don't have any PPTs for this. So better if you write, it will stay in your mind. Okay, so we'll go with the next now. Income from house property. Income from HP, income from house property. So in income from house property, we study a certain section. So what are the sections that we are going to study? I'll just tell you, so make a note of it. Income from house property, in that we study the section from 22 to 27. So from here to here, we study all the sections in this chapter. So we'll do with this chapter one by one. Yes, first, whatever the income might be under any of the head, first we think about the chargeability. So here also we'll go with the chargeability. Okay. So your chargeability will come under your section 22. So under our chargeability, you just take down the annual value of property comprising of building, the annual value of property comprising of building or land apportionment thereto, or land apportionment thereto, of which assessee is the owner is chargeable, of which the assessee is the owner is chargeable to tax under the head, is chargeable to tax under the head. Under the which head we are going to tax this? Any idea? Okay, let me tell you. Income from house property. Okay, so nothing they are telling, whatever the annual value of property. So usually we pay the tax on the annual value of the property, right? So on the annual value of property, where your annual value of property will be comprising, either it can be the building or either it can be any of the land which has some apportionment with the assessee, and where the assessee will be the owner of that, and that assessee will be charging a tax for this asset under his head, income from house property. So whenever we are going to calculate the tax of a assessee under this head of income from house property, we are going to put the value of that particular property, what an assessee is going to own it over here. And in this case, we have some exceptions. And what are those exceptions? We'll just see this. Under this, we have exceptions that where the annual value of property, sometimes we are going to tax this under the profit or gains from business or profession. Say for example, ಇವಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದ್ ಮನೆ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಮನೆನ ಅರ್ಧ ಪಾರ್ಟು ನಾನು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಅರ್ಧ ನಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೈ ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಸ್. ಅವಾಗ ಸೊ ಇದು ನನ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಆಗತ್ತಾ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತಾ? ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಪೀಪಲ್ ಟೆಲ್ ಮಿ ವೆದರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ will be my income from business or it will be my income from house property?
Income from business.
Income from business, exactly. So ivaga nan ardha property na business kottidini antandre ad nange income from business. Suppose in ardha property li nane idini, ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ 2 ಫ್ಲೋರ್. ಈ 2 ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ನ ನಾನು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ ಆವಾಗ? ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತೀನ, ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಅಂತೀನ? ಎರಡು ಮನೇಲೂ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ರೆಂಟ್ ಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ನಾನು ಏನಂತೀನಿ ಅದನ್ನ?
Income from house property.
Exactly. So this is what the difference between income from business and income from house property. And e house property li ಕೆಲವೊಂದು exceptions ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ exceptions ಅಂತ I'll just tell you now. Just make a note of those 2 points. Just have 2 points there. Okay. So that exception is, you have to go now. Okay, Hemant, you can leave. I'll just record this and I'll just send you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Okay, so coming on to an exceptions in this, take down the first one. So annual value of the following, annual value of the following properties, annual value of the following properties are chargeable under the head. Suraj raised the hand. Illu cheste. Yes, Suraj, what's the doubt?
Ma'am, class ಎಷ್ಟು ತನಕ ಇದೆ ma'am?
Class ಒಂದು 6 7.
ಓಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ?
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ನಾನು ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆದ್ನಲ್ಲ.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
Fine. So now we'll go. Annual value of the following property are chargeable under the head, chargeable under the head, profit and gains of business or profession. Profit and gains of business or profession. So under the first point, under this, take down portions of property occupied by the assessee for the purpose of any business or profession, any business or profession, any business or profession carried on by him, carried on by him or by them, anything you can take. And the second point, properties of an assessee, properties of an assessee engaged in the business of letting out properties, letting out of properties. Akasmat properties ಏನಾದ್ರು let out ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆ property of an assessee, akasmat if he is engaged in any business when he is letting out the properties, even that will be exempt under this income. Any doubts in this? Understood? All of you understood, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now I'll go with the next one. I'll clear the screen. I hope you have written this. Okay, so next we have certain important notes that you have to know over here. So this they might ask you in MCQs these notes also, so just make a note of this. First one, income from HP, income from HP deals with self-occupied, deals with self-occupied or let out properties, or let out properties for residential or commercial use, for residential or commercial use. So here either you may use it for residential purpose or you may leave it for a commercial use. So where it is a self-occupied or it can be the let out, so then income from house property will be dealing with that. But when I come to the next point, the notional income, so you have to know about this notional income. There is no tax for this notional income. And if you ask me, ma'am, what is notional income? So coming on to our notional income, any idea you people have about the notional income? Okay, let me tell you. Notional income is nothing but where you will get a satisfaction. Suppose you are owning some goods and you are using that goods being as a taxpayer, and you're getting a benefit also out of it. So where you're having some personal experience, you are having that asset, and out of that you are very happy by using that asset, and you're getting the incomes also being as a taxpayer. On behalf of that, you get some exemptions there. So that is what a notional income. In short, we call that as tested benefits, what a person is going to get it on his income. So where there is no tax on this income. So they have asked 1 year regarding this question about the notional income. In one of the year, they have asked this question. It's an important one. Notional income provisions are applicable. Notional income provisions are applicable under the head that is assessee is taxed even when there is no income. That is assessee is taxed even when there is no income. And sometimes when there is no income also, assessee will be taxed, but not on notional income. The remaining income, whatever he has, on that amount, the tax will be there, but not on this notional income. Remember, notional income is exempt. Apart from this, whatever the amount he gets, on that he need to pay. Suppose I have one property, in that half property, I'm using it as a notional income. On the remaining property will be there now. On that I have to pay the tax. Whether I'm going to get an income or I'm not going to get an income, I have to pay the tax. Suppose ಇವಾಗ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ನಾನು ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಯಾರು ಬಂದಿರಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಾಡಿಗೆಗೆ, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ನಿಮ್ ಹತ್ರ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೀವು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ಲೇಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? So that is what this point is going to mean you. So any doubts in this? Okay, so hope you guys are understood. Now we'll go with the next point. So next we'll go with the computation of income. Computation of income. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದ್ಯಾ? Am I too fast? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದ್ಯಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ? ಉಸಿರೇ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Yes, ma'am. Previous slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Previous slide ಬೇಕಿತ್ತಾ?
Yes, ma'am.
ನಾನು ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಶಾಟ್ ತೆಗ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. I know you people are not writing ಅಂತ. I'll send you later. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next, computation of income. Income na yav riti compute ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? So we go under these three sections, 23, 24 and 25. So how do we are going to compute the income? You can have a note of this. All house properties are divided into following three categories for the purpose of computation. And for the purpose of computation, we have divided the house properties into the following three types. You can have a look towards that. And here is your seal number. Here is your nature of property. And here is your net result of computation. Okay, so coming on to the first one, the first nature of property will go with let out property. And let out property, we study this under section 23 subsection 1. So you have to remember this section, it's important. So when we are computing this let out property, so any amount it might be, so the any amount of income or loss on any amount of income, either it can be the income or either it can be the loss, the net result of that will be our computation. Okay, so coming on to the second one. So when I move on to the problems, you'll be understanding this better. Second one, if it is a self-occupied property or unoccupied property. Suppose it is a self-occupied or unoccupied property, we study that under a section, that is our section 23 subsection 2. So under this section, so it will be chargeable either nil or loss, subject to maximum of rupees 2 lakh. Up to maximum of 2 lakh. ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 ಲಕ್ಷದ ತನಕ ಅದು ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅನ್ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ನಾವು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಒಟ್ಟು 2 ಲಕ್ಷದ ತನಕ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್, ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ. ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ. ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಎನಿ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ? Can you people tell me? Deemed to be let out property. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ಫುಲಿ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ, ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರೋ ಏನೋ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಹೇಳಿ. ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಓಕೆ, you people won't open the mouth, let me only tell you. Deemed to be let out property ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ಫುಲಿ ನೀವು ಆ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಅ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್. ಹೌದು. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನೋ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ನಿಮ್ ಹತ್ರ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ನೀವಿರೋ ಮನೇಲಿ ಒಂದ್ ರೂಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಡೀಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಅ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಮ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಡೀಮಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಟು ಬಿ ಅ ಲೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಒನ್. ಸೊ that is any amount, it can be either income or loss. Again, it is will be a taxable one. Done with this? Anyone is writing still?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Change, ma'am.
It's done, huh?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so now we'll go with the next one. Next we'll go with let out property. Let out property. So then, what is the meaning of let out property? How do we compute the let out property? As I said, it comes under section 23, subsection 1. Under this section, we study about our let out property. So here in let out property, the property which is let out for rent, the property which is let out for rent is known as let out property. Let out property. So any property, if you're giving for a let out for rent, you have given it for a rent, then it is a let out property, and there is no limit for claiming the interest on whatever the loan that you are going to borrow. That is in the case of let out property. That is the very most important thing that you have to know. And there is no limit for claiming any kind of interest that you are going to borrow the loan, that is especially on the let out property. So I'm coming on to this, like how do you compute this? So coming on to it, computation of taxable income from house property. Letting out property for the commercial purpose is considered to be a let out. Yes. Even for the commercial purposes also, it's a let out property only. Okay, na? So coming on to computation of taxable income on HP. So here GAV of the house property, first we consider GAV of the house property, GAV of the HP we are going to write. So that amount you take it on the outer column, and then from this amount you just minus local taxes paid by the owner during the previous year, okay. So that one amount, that is nothing but your minus amount, you take it on the outer column, and whatever balance you get, that is your net annual value. And for the net annual value, you will be minusing some of the deduction you will do, that is under section 24. So what are the deduction that you do? The first one, 30% of NAV. So suppose if you have got 30,000 here, 30,000 into 30% you will do. And if any repairs, insurance and other charges are there, you will include here. That is like repairs, insurance and other charges. Okay, so this amount you take it in a column, and B you will take, that is interest on loan paid. So any interest that you have been paid a loan, interest on loan paid, you have taken some loan, on that loan if you are paying interest, so that is related to your previous year, relating to previous year plus along with this you do add pre-construction interest. Before only you have taken some interest before you are going to construct a home. So pre-construction interest, you're going to take that amount, you add these two amount, you will take it outside. So by adding these two, you will take outside, you minus these two amount, from this amount you will minus this, so finally you will get one amount. So that amount is nothing but taxable income from HP. Taxable income from HP. Understood this point? This format you have to know so that it will be useful when you do the further calculations. Okay. Any doubts in this? All of you wrote this? So, okay. Hope you guys have written this. So now I'll go with the next part. Yeah. So here is the next one. I tell about your annual value. Sometimes your annual value will be given in the question. Sometimes annual value, that's your GAV, will not be given in the question. In that situation, how do you calculate that? We'll see that under section 23, subsection 1. When there is no vacancy, that is you have your annual value when there is no vacancy and when there is vacancy. You have a separate calculations for this. So we'll go with this first when there is. So again, when 10 minutes, the session will end. So we'll complete at least this. When there is no vacancy. So when there is no vacancy, how do we calculate our annual value? So you people can check with this. When the property is let out throughout the previous year, when the property is let out throughout the previous year. So throughout the previous year, you have let it out your property. So then how do you have a calculation? First is municipal value, you take one amount, and then you have a fair rent, you take one amount. I hope you will understand this. Municipal value, and then your fair rent. Okay, so here you will take an amount out. In these two, whichever is higher, you take that amount over here. Okay, and for this, you take a standard rent. This is your standard rent, and in these two amount, whichever is lesser, you take that amount down here, and that will be your actual rent. And this actual rent, you get it when you minus annual rent minus unrealized rent. When you minus this also, you get this amount, or directly also you get this amount. So here, whichever is higher, that means here you'll take an actual rent. So for the actual rent, this is the formula. Okay, na? So in these two now, you will take whichever is higher, and that amount you will take down, and that amount will be your gross annual value. So listen carefully. Municipal value, fair rent. Whichever is higher, you take it down. And for that, you take a standard rent. Whichever is lesser, you will take it down. And for that, you will take actual rent. For actual rent, you use the formula. That's your annual rent and unrealized rent. That will be given in the question only. And in these two, whichever is higher, that will be your GAV. Remember, higher, lesser, higher, that's all. Okay, first comes with high, then comes with low, and then goes with a high. Okay, so now you just take down this. All of you took this. So this is when there is no vacancy. Okay, na? So I hope you people took this. Now all of you rejoin to the session. I will stop your share. So rejoin to the session again. So then we'll continue with the next part. Okay, na? Rejoin with the same ID.